research contributes to the understanding of the alpha-synuclein aggregation, which is the key to service process in Parkinson's.
Sorry, was that question for me or for anyone? For anyone.
How, because, in the end we want to solve the whole problem, and how does the research presented helps to solve this problem?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just start quickly. So what Flora mentioned was they've done some fetal transplants quite a while ago. I can't hear. Hello? Oh, yes. Yay. Okay, so Flora's talking about the fact they did some fetal transplants in a very small number of people with Parkinson's quite a long time ago. Some of those worked quite well, some of them not. And when some of those people have now passed away and they look at the cells that were transplanted into the Parkinson's brain, they actually do see that the new cells, some of them were starting to have the symptoms of Parkinson's, so formation of Lewy bodies and deposits of alpha-synuclein. So it suggests that the condition Parkinson's in the brain, it's sort of endemic, and when you put new cells into there, so if you put new stem cells into there, they're going to be affected too. They're not the full solution, which I think is absolutely right. But then there are other treatments that are looking, we haven't talked about today, but we're funding projects at Parkinson's UK that are looking to find ways to stop that, to understand how the illness that the nerve cells affected in Parkinson's experience, how we can stop that spreading. Because we don't really understand how it spreads yet. We think maybe that as the nerve cells die, they might release proteins like alpha-synuclein, which are damaging, and those then kind of infect the nerve cells nearby and get passed on to the neighbours. But we don't understand enough about that yet to be able to really stop it. But we are funding lots of projects to try and understand that, and also projects looking at new forms of gene therapy that help to reduce the amount of alpha-synuclein that might be being produced by the cells. So yes, we need to do those things too, but we haven't had time to talk about it today. Does anyone else want to add to that? Yeah.
That's a very interesting question because alpha-synuclein centers around the Lewy body formation. What we found in our stem cell models when we differentiate the dopamine nerve cells is we've been able to detect alpha-synuclein being released from our neurons into the cell media that we grow the cells in. So it could be a useful cell model to understand why certain cells release maybe more alpha-synuclein and how that then goes into other cells. Because we can look at these cells in isolation, we can try and understand the mechanism.
Next one. Oh, yeah.
Yes, hello. Slight change of tack, I think, here, if I may. The Weybridge in London wobbled when people walked across it. My arm wobbles when I'm talking to you. Like Wobbly Bridge, it seems to reach a harmonic frequency where it goes all over the place. Whereas other movements dim down to nothing. Does any of the research that you're carrying out suggest why the brain is producing those types of impulses, and how, in the short term, perhaps, while we're waiting for the magic cure at the end, how those movements might be dampened down or made to work? That goes for exercise routines or drugs,
That's a good one. Anyone? Anyone?
I can talk about harmonic frequencies. But
Big disclaimer, I'm not a clinician. And so I can't really talk about ways of dampening those frequencies or the diminution of, as far as movement from a cellular level or from the clinical point of view, but certainly... Oh, I'll get up on the chair, actually. But certainly another way that we find that... Louder. Is this better? Yes?
we're up to 11.
Oh, good. I've never been asked to be louder before. But certainly what we're finding is that the rhythmic activity, even in those reduced activities such as your stepping can also be affected. And so your stride to stride fluctuations when you walk start to break down even further, and you lose those that rhythm, those frequencies that you once had. And so I think trying to understand that is going to tell us a lot more. I can't really talk about tremor though and things to improve that. Certainly in terms of getting smaller movement, obviously your drug therapy will be targeting some of that, and I think I should probably not mention anything about that. I have no qualifications to. However, certain movements and activities and movement strategies can improve. So learning how to attend to your movement, practicing those big steps, they can improve. So I think I'll leave it on that. Is anyone else having a go?
I think there's quite a practical solution. If you put tension in your arm, holding a book or holding an umbrella will stop the tremor. So for practical purposes, you can do that when you walk outside.
I think some people, I think deep brain stimulation can help for tremor, because that's about calming overactive nerve cells inside the brain. It's not for everyone though, deep brain stimulation. And they are trying to come up with other types of treatment that achieve the same thing. So gene therapy, which Maeve talked about, and also drugs that change activity of certain populations of nerve cells. But it can be difficult because not all treatments work the same for everyone. But it's a good point. Any other? I'm going to let this chap speak because he's been putting his hand up for ages.
Hi, I'm not a natural speaker, but I've had Parkinson's disease now for 8.5 years. I fully understand everyone who's got Parkinson's, what they have to battle on a daily basis. My own understanding is that if you combine natural exercise, nutrition, there's not been much talk today about the nutrition side of it and the impact that the right foods in the gut. There's two brains, there's one in the head and one in the gut, and it's a signal from the gut that tells the brain when it's hungry. So I think, in my view, this is my own personal view, is that we need to look at the impact on the psychology side and what we're putting in our gut that can influence the symptoms of Parkinson's. I'm very interested on the panel's concept on hypnosis, whether hypnosis could have an impact on the symptoms of someone with Parkinson's. I don't know whether anyone's got any comment to make on that. I mean, I'm a bit of a maverick. I'm not a clinician. I'm not qualified in clinical measure, but I'm qualified in knowing what Parkinson's, how it affects me, and how the symptoms can be improved by exercise, nutrition, and positive engagement. And also the benefits of alternative therapies such as Reiki, meditation, sauna and steam. They all create the endorphins which, in my view, temporarily repair the disconnection in the brain.
Thank you very much. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on hypnosis or anything. Everyone's shaking their head, looking scared. I've never come across any research into hypnotherapy for people with Parkinson's in my work, or because we get asked lots of questions about things like that. Certainly with complementary therapies and things like that, it's really, really hard to get hard scientific evidence on, because Parkinson's is already, people respond very differently to different treatments, and I think that's exacerbated with complementary therapies, because some people just love them, and we know that they love them and they find them brilliant. They help relieve stress and all sorts of things, which are of course beneficial to everybody, but whether they're specifically beneficial to people with Parkinson's is harder to figure out, and a lot of the studies that have been done have been really small and maybe sometimes not very well designed. But we, as a charity, kind of say, please, try things, because everyone's different and everybody will find different ways to cope with Parkinson's and manage the symptoms in their own ways. There doesn't always need to be evidence that something works. If it works for you, that's fantastic, and please tell other people about what works for you. But we can't say everyone should go to get hypnotherapy, because we don't know. But we're totally behind people finding the things that work for them. And it's even if it's walking up and down the Gherkin all Saturday and Sunday.
I would say I wouldn't advocate that to anybody.